And a very good day to you. I welcome you to the farm. I'm sitting in our recording studio on the farm, and I have got a very touching story to read to you that was sent to me from another farmer, a very, very good friend. But before we start the story, there's one scripture verse, Matthew chapter 25, and I'm reading from verse 35. And this is what it says. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Inasmuch as we do it unto the least of these our brethren, we do it unto Jesus himself. And this is how the story goes. I arrived at the address and honked the horn. After waiting and waiting for a few minutes, I honked again. And since this was going to be my last ride for the shift, I thought about just driving away. But instead, I put the car into park and I walked up to the door and I knocked on the door. "Just a minute," answered a frail, elderly voice. I could hear something being dragged across the floor. After a long pause, the door opened. A small woman in her 90s stood before me. By her side was a small nylon suitcase. The apartment looked as if no one had lived in it for years. All the furniture was covered with sheets. "Would you carry my bag out to the car?" she said. I took the suitcase to the cab. Then I returned to assist the woman, and she took my arm and we walked slowly towards the curb. She kept thanking me for my kindness. "It's nothing," I told her. "I just try to treat my passengers the way I would want my mother to be treated." "Oh, you're such a good boy," she said. When we got into the cab, she gave me an address and then asked, "Could you drive through downtown?" "It's not the shortest way," I answered quickly. "Oh, I don't mind. I'm in no hurry. I'm on my way to a hospice." I looked in my rearview mirror and her eyes were glistening. "I don't have any family left," she said. And she continued in a soft voice, "The doctor has said I don't have very long." I quietly reached over and shut off the meter. "What route would you like me to take?" I asked. For the next 2 hours, we drove through the city. She showed me the building where she had once worked as an elevator operator. Sometimes she would ask me to slow down in front of a particular building or on a corner, and she would just sit there in the darkness, saying nothing. But then, as the first hint of sun was creasing the horizon, she suddenly said, "I'm tired. Let's go now." And we drove in silence to the address she had given me. It was a low building like a small convalescent home with a driveway that passed under a portico. 2 orderlies came out to the cab as soon as we pulled up. They were solicitous and intent, watching her every move. They must have been expecting her. I opened the trunk and took out the small suitcase, and I took it to the door. The woman was already seated in a wheelchair. "How much do I owe you?" she asked, reaching for her little purse. "Nothing," I said. "You have to make a living," she answered. "There are other passengers," I responded, almost without thinking. Then I bent down and gave her a hug. She held on to me tightly. "You gave an old woman a little moment of joy," she said. "Thank you." I squeezed her hand and then walked into the dim morning light. Behind me, a door shut. It was the sound of the closing of a life. I didn't pick up any more passengers that shift. I drove aimlessly, lost in thought. For the rest of that day, I could hardly talk. What if that woman had gotten an angry driver? Or one who was impatient to end his shift? What if I had refused to take the run, or had honked once and then driven away? On a quick review, I don't think that I have ever done anything more important in my life. We are conditioned to think that our lives revolve around great moments, but great moments often catch us unaware, beautifully wrapped in what others may consider a small one. People may not remember exactly what you did or what you said, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Goodbye.